This is the Progressive Dentist Podcast, where we help dentists like you improve your practice and teach you how to keep more of what you make. Here's your host, Craig Cody.
Hello, it's Craig Cody here with the Progressive Dentist. I'm lucky to have Frank Curtin with us today. Frank has been involved in the financial lives of others since he was 10 years old. Started working with his dad, who was a financial professional and a tax consultant. He was doing tax returns at the age of 12, and then got into financial modeling in business at the age of 17. Frank has worked as a project manager for environmental consulting firms, a supply chain management consultant for IBM. He now helps small businesses with their business strategies. He's an EOS implementation expert. He has his master's in business administration from the Ohio State University and has a graduate certificate in admin and management from Harvard. Frank, thanks for being here today. So tell us about what you do, Frank.
Sure. So I do a lot of consulting, or I should say practice management consulting, where I take the tool, or I should say the philosophy crafted by Gino Wickman, which is called Traction. And Traction is a book that was written to put into terms the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS. That's a buzz term that you're hearing around. A lot of people are kind of floating that topic around. They've got some pretty big goals to get over 10,000 companies on this system. And I happen to specialize in doing this with dentists. And so what I do is I help them gain vision, clarity, and traction. And in doing so, help that dentist become less of the person saying, I say you do, and become more of a team-led business where we start empowering the functional leader. So whether you're a general dentist where you've got a hygienist and your dental assistants and your front desk people, and each of those functional areas have a leadership role. Somebody has a leadership role in those seats, and those people are empowered to make decisions because, after all, they're the ones doing the job on the day-to-day. They're involved in the whirlwind of the business every single day. They have their finger on the pulse for those functional areas. You get the team together to do that. It takes a lot of the day-to-day responsibilities of managing the company off of the dentist. Put in a good integrator, or let's call him a super office manager, somebody who has more than just the front desk responsibility. And now you've got somebody that can help you with P&L type of business management and business running. So whether it's a single practice, multiple practice, whether you've got partners or not, an EOS type system inside of a dental practice is something new for dentists, because in the past, the traditional dental model, as we know, is I say you do. All right. And so, and all of the questions always default back to the doctor. Well, in this model, you're empowered to make decisions. So it's a pretty powerful system.
Yes, it is. We as a firm here started implementing EOS back in October, and it's really been empowering. And one of the great things about it is you realize the right person in the right seat. So right. They may be a superstar where you had them, and then all of a sudden you move them to the front desk or the office manager, and they're no longer a superstar. So we need to know where they should be. So what is, I would say, the most important thing that, a dentist can learn in using the EOS system?
There's actually a couple things, but if you really put them into simple terms, if you will, putting structure behind your business so that we understand what actually needs to get done in the business. So there's an accountability chart that you're probably familiar with, which looks like an organizational chart, except it's much more powerful. And when we have the accountability chart built out properly, you can start to see the lines of communication. One of the biggest things that I notice in most businesses, and I've seen this across the spectrum, from whether it's real estate businesses, whether it's just a brick and mortar type business or a dental office, when a staff member has two or more tasks of responsibility, they get confused as to which one is the priority. So they don't know their priorities, which means they will always default to the more simple of the tasks, or the ones they prefer to do over the ones that they least prefer to do. So while you may have a certain set protocol of things that you need to get done, they have a different agenda when they're not instructed. So the accountability chart provides the clarity in what needs to get done in its priority. And that's huge in any business, let alone a dental office, but it's huge in any business so that you can get the most out of the people. Because there are some core things we all have to get done. And at the end of the day, those core things are the things that absolutely must get done. Everything else is ancillary. Important, but ancillary.
So I agree with you. Really, really agree. And tell me about the I guess, the result of the stress reduction that you as a business owner feel when you implement all those systems?
Oh, it's huge. There's so many decisions that we're called upon to make on a day in and day out basis, whether it's a fire rising up from some deed that didn't get done properly, and whether it's a client that didn't get something that they were supposed to get, and maybe an expectation was unmet. And so there's a discrepancy, and maybe they're not so happy with you or something. Or maybe it's just two staff members who aren't getting what they want from each other. And so we've got conflict there. Those types of things tend to create chaos in the business, right? So each and every time we hire somebody, we bring in the good, the bad, and the ugly of that individual. They bring their personality, their management style, and all that. And when they start with any organization or any company, and there is no management system in place, they will default to what they know, not what you know, because how else would they know? So they're going to start to run things the way they know how to run things. They're going to operate off of their own personal operating system. So without a single operating system in a business, it gets very, very chaotic, very fast. So that peace of mind that comes with knowing that people now understand what they're supposed to be doing, they understand how to resolve conflict when it arises, and there's a protocol for that. If something isn't working out, there's a way to address it without running around with the chicken like your head cut off type approach. So it gives you a lot of order.
And I would imagine that also helps when, somebody doesn't show up for work, or maybe somebody decides to move and go elsewhere.
Absolutely. And replacing people. People are our biggest asset in any organization, right? And I always say, hire for character, you can train skill. Right? I can't train character. If you are who you are, your life events, and it takes a life-altering event to shift your character. Birth of a child, marriage, death of somebody that's close to you could change who you are. But just me saying I don't like the way you do something, that's not going to change who you are and how you are, right? So we hire for character. That's what we look for. And then we with skill. So replacing people or getting people to understand what's important to us, and that there are certain things that we will accept as acceptable behavior, and there are other things that are just not here. Not here. You may do that elsewhere, but not here type of things, right? The unacceptable behaviors.
Exactly.
We find those people that fit that. That's our core values. That's literally what it boils down to. And articulating those in a clear and concise way allows us to bring the right people in, right? As Jim Collins would say, the right person in the right seat on the right bus, going in the right direction, right? So all of that matters collectively. So getting good people on the team, that's what it's really all about. You get good people, you can make some wonderful things happen.
So now you've taken EOS and you've kind of modified it a little bit to really fit into the dental profession, correct?
Yeah, there's a big range of experience, if you will, within a dental practice. We've got people that maybe didn't even finish college or high school, right? It's not a requirement, to work in the front desk or even be a dental assistant, other than maybe a GED. So there are some people that might have lesser education. Then you got a doctor that's got like 7 gazillion years of education under their belt, and they're very, very sharp. They're very book sharp, maybe street sharp too, but they're very book sharp in doing their stuff. So they understand what it's like to really dig down and have, clear, concise disciplines. I mean, it takes a lot of discipline to get your dental degree, right? Right. If you're a chaotic individual, you most likely are not. If you make it through dental school, it'll be a struggle, right, to do so. But so we have this range of people and range of what they know in life experiences and stuff like that. And heck, some of the front desk people, they might only be 18 years old when you hire them, right, coming in and doing some work for you. So what I found is that under the traditional EOS model, it's a little bit harder to put somebody in charge at that role because they just haven't had that experience yet. Unless they've worked for like a McDonald's or somebody where the structure is already there and they can see and experience being managed and then maybe doing a little bit of management themselves. Getting them to understand numbers and being accountable for numbers and having other people accountable for what they're supposed to be performing, it's a little bit more challenging. So what I've done in there is I've helped to create more of an educational component to bring up to speed each of the functional leaders, what their roles are, what their responsibilities are, and really teach them how to be a leader. It's a journey. It's not a switch, right? We kind of talked about that, but it's not, we just don't flip the switch and everybody's instantly doing what they want. Different people need different amounts of time to get it, for it to really start to click with them and understand what it is their actual role is and how to actually carry it out. And again, you don't know what you don't know. So somebody who has lesser experience, this is new for them. And so we want to make sure that we give good structured education and basically mentoring to get them up to speed on what they're supposed to be doing. Sort of helps them. My job is to make the integrator do things as well as I would do them if I were your integrator.
So tell me about what is the integrator?
So the integrator is think of the yin and yang with the visionary and integrator. The visionary is typically the owner, in this case, the dentist. And this person is the champion of culture. I'm talking about the visionary now, the champion of culture, big ideas, but they have no management responsibilities. Then you got the integrator. That's the buck stops here. Think of this as your operations director, right? Or the president of an organization, if you're familiar with the Wall Street structure. You got a CEO that's jet setting. They make all the headline news, and then you get the president. Nobody knows who they are, right? The integrator is kind of like that, meaning that they're this rock steady person, the one that will tell the visionary, no. Somebody has to be big enough and bold enough to say, you got a lot of great ideas, but not now. We are focused. We have our 90-day plan built in. We're not taking on any more projects until we get this quarter over with. So the integrator is this buck stops here person. Their job is to bring harmony to all the functional areas. Whenever there's a doubt in between two functional areas where they don't agree on something, the integrator makes the decision. It's not a democracy, right? If I'm going to be accountable for something, I don't want to vote on it. Right? It's not a vote. If I'm going to be accountable, I'll make the decision, and then if I'm wrong, I live with my consequences, whatever that might be. So in business, each of the functional leaders need to learn and understand that as well. You may really love your team, but in a traditional teaming, people tend to vote as, well, what do y'all guys want to do and stuff like that. It's like, that's great. Listen to them, but at the end of the day, you're accountable. So you got to make decisions. Well, this integrator person makes sure that each of these people understand that, right? So they have that responsibility. Any projects that need to get done in the organization, we call those rocks, right? These 90-day rocks. Any projects that need to get done that cut across two or more functional areas is owned by the integrator. The reason for that is they're more likely to be able to get these guys to work together than a leader over here pulling a resource from a different functional area and saying, hey, I need you over here for this project. Try doing that when they're busy.
Right.
The integrator, they can do it like that. You, come with me. So they have more authority, if you will. And really their job is to remove barriers, because the day-to-day business that we have, a lot of times things get in the way. And it could be any number of things. We have a good weekly meeting schedule and routine, if you will, to flush out what's not working, what's blocking us. And the integrator is there to help make sure that we remove those barriers, whatever that may be. And so, all told, it's the responsibility of the department leaders to clear up anything that's within their authority, but anything outside of that, it's got to flush up into that leadership meeting. And the integrator is there to make sure that they bring that to a resolution, bring it to a conclusion. And when there's not a unanimous decision, they need to just flat out make a decision. And so it's somebody that has to have an understanding of numbers. I always tell everybody numbers tell a story. And you got to get really good at listening to the language of numbers and what story is it telling. If you like the story it's telling, keep doing it. If you don't like the story that it's telling you, change something about it. That's what you're going to need to do. So numbers tell stories. The integrator, they really need to be versed in numbers and understand that, because at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. Our guts may tell us one thing, but the numbers, they don't lie.
And that's why my mantra is, good, timely numbers on a regular basis.
Amen. Amen on that, yes.
So two other parts that I really like. Tell me about the whole strategy behind the meetings and the scorecard.
Gotcha. So the purpose for the meetings is that you need a rhythm. You need a pulse, if you will. In EOS, they call it the meeting pulse. And so on a weekly basis, you're meeting and you will go through your rocks to see if they're on track. You're going to go through your scorecard to see what measurables are you hitting, which ones are you off track on and might need to have a conversation about. You're going to find out if there's any employee or client issues or patient issues that you need to address and bring to light. And then how are you doing on all the previous things you did? I mean, if I'm going to make decisions and I create to-dos from those, all those issues that we created to-dos to make it go away, if we didn't do the to-do, the issue still exists, right? So we have to be getting our to-dos done too, our little actions. We got to go from to-do to done, right? We got to move it off that list and get it over to the to-done list. And then, so that's a weekly pulse that goes on. Well, where we get our rhythm for this week, or I should say where we get the content for a lot of what's happening in these weeklies, comes from our quarterlies and our annuals. Our quarterly is where we're going to set our priorities. What are the big things that need to focus on this quarter? And then when I look at the annual, what do we need to focus on this year? All of it starts at a higher level. I always say with the dentist, we do a 5-year stretch goal, and then we do a 2-year plan, a 1-year plan, and a 90-day. The reason for the 5 years, it's really tough to get a small, inexperienced group of managers to try and think that far into the future. In EOS, they talk about 5 to 30 years. If you're IBM, you can probably do a 20, 25, 30-year plan. If you're John Doe the doctor, you probably can't think that far out. Right? That's just a little bit too much. So we try to bring it down to a reality. So we take that 5-year stretch, and once we stretch ourselves into that position, we start chunking it down. Well, what do we need to look like in 2 years to be at 5? What do we need to look like in 1 year to be at the 2? What do we need to look like over the next 90 days to put us on track to get into this 1 year? And so that meeting pulse is all about these annuals, quarterlies, and weeklies. The annual is where we reset all of the big ones, including the next quarter. The quarterlies are where we look to see of all the goals we have for the year, what do we need to do this quarter to help these goals come to life? Whether it's a financial goal, whether it's a non-financial metric, or whether it's just a flat out goal, like getting all your processes documented or something like that. So each of those things matter. Those quarterlies then break into the rocks and some financial objectives. And then in the weekly, we sort of use that to help us guide us on getting there. Are we on track to the things that we want? Are we looking at the things that will help ensure that we're tracking towards the things we said we want to accomplish in a quarter or a year? That sort of thing.
And then we have the scorecard.
And then the scorecard. The scorecard is where the rubber meets the road. If you pick the right metrics, and we're talking about a handful of metrics, not everything under the sun. And I know it's amazing. Like some doctors, they have like 40 or 50 metrics they look at. They are slicing and dicing data because they've got a good analytical mind and they're just looking at numbers all over the place. Problem is you can't really take action on most of those things. So I always tell everybody, if you're going to have a certain set of things, of functional areas, each function should have 1 or 2 maximum key performance metrics. So like a dentist, a lot of people say, well, that's probably production. It's like, no, they have no control over production. The only thing they have control over is treatment planning. That's what they have control over. Front desk does all the scheduling, right? So who goes scheduling? That'd be front desk. Their job is to make sure that patients get on the books to fill slots. The doctors show up and they do whatever. Whoever shows up in their chair, they will do the work. That's their job. But they have control over treatment planning. And if they're really, really good at it, the practice does well, right? Hygiene, production. That's kind of their big thing. They got their production because they have control over how much production gets produced. They can do a cleaning for $79, or they can start getting x-rays and prophies, and you can get into some really big cases with perio, especially some of those people that fall behind on it and start getting deep pockets and need a lot of help there. You can get into some multi-$1,000 cases in the hygiene side. So they have control over that and how they present that and the need to the patient stuff. Dental assistants, they have one job, in my opinion, and that's to make the doctor happy. If they make the doctor happy, the patient's going to have a great experience, right? If they focus on the patient too much and ignore the doctor, you're going to frustrate the doctor and create all kinds of chaos, and they won't get things done. You make that doctor happy, with your chairside habits, behavior, and preparation, it's a win. It's a big win. Front desk, collections, they're responsible for the schedule and collections. And then everybody's like, well, where's your adjusted production? Where's all this production stuff? That's your integrator. Your integrator is responsible for adjusted production and expenses because they have P&L responsibility. That's why. It's the collection of what hygiene produces, what the doctors produce, all in aggregate against all the expenses in a given period. And we use adjusted production, not collections for that. Biggest problem with using collections is that we do payment plans. It doesn't match it. As an accountant, I know you know this, we need income matching.
Right.
Adjusted production puts the expenses with the period that it was, that it took the effort to make it behind it. So we like to look at it from that perspective. And then lastly is marketing. How many leads, how many hellos are you getting? Right? And then what are your conversion factors off of that? I always tell them, if you're on vacation and you know how well the treatment planning was done, you knew the production out of hygiene, you knew the doctors, how satisfied they were with their dental assistants, you knew collections, you knew your holes in scheduling, right? I need to know the holes because that's going to tell me more than just scheduling, right? So holes in schedule. You tell me how many hellos you got, and then you tell me the adjusted production, I'll tell you if you had a good week or not. I'll know pretty easily. I don't need dollars per hour of this and that. And
right. We could get buried in the weeds. We don't need to get buried in the weeds.
Absolutely. And so what I try to teach the docs, and this is probably one of the hardest things for them to do, is for the letting go part, is to start letting go of the details. Focus on the big numbers. Let your team worry about the details. If I have 3 hygienists and I'm looking for a production of $1,000 per hygienist per day, that's what I'm looking for. I want 3,000 out of there. And so dollars per hour, maybe I'm looking for, $120 an hour. If I get $120 an hour and 3,000 production, I don't care that 2 of the hygienists did all the work and 1 didn't. That's my lead hygienist issue, not mine. It's only my issue if the lead hygienist says, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do, can you help me? Then it becomes my issue. Understood. Outside of that, it's theirs, and I let them have it.
So switching gears a little bit, we spoke a little bit before we went on the air about masterminding. I'm a big fan of masterminding. I run a mastermind of CPAs. So recently you started up your own mastermind. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's called the Same Page Mastermind, and it's geared toward dentists who they're either just getting going in practice. We've got, one that just literally opened their doors in January, and it leads up to people that maybe have been in business, maybe up to about 10 years or so, owning their own practice. They can have multiple practices in that. They generally, they got things going. They're in a good growth mode, but they're really looking to get to the next level. And so it's geared towards a hot seat model where the focus is on you. So it's a facilitated group of individuals, not a coaching model or a curriculum-based model. It's not like that. It's designed just literally to get people the help they specifically need from one quarter to the next. We always run it on the preceding, like it'll always be a March, June, September, and December timeframe because we have our Q1, 2, 3, and 4 meetings in April. We do them right at the close of the quarter, right? So the traditional Q1, 2, 3, 4, we do it right at the end of each quarter so that whatever you commit to doing in a given quarter, you can add that to your rocks when you have your next quarterly meeting a few weeks later, right? Because a good integrator will not let you add them after the quarterly meeting started. Right.
And that's good stuff.
So we keep it from there, and it's a good group of people, and it's designed for those that they like problem solving, they like helping others and getting helped. It's for people like that. It's for people who maybe their investment knowledge isn't that great and they want a little help in understanding what are my options out there, right? A lot of people have just a very limited view, and they're just in the traditional space because that's what they were told to do, and they spend no time on that elsewhere. Giving's big. I think giving is part of why we do what we do. I believe God put us here on this earth for a purpose, and if I found that the more I give, the more joy I find from it. If I receive a gift, one of the things I notice when I receive a gift, you get that instantaneous gratification and you get that little euphoric high. But when I give and I see the joy in somebody else, like when you give to your child or to his friend or family or somebody who needs something, that joy lasts, and you can experience every time you see that individual enjoying whatever it is you did for them. And so to me, it's like that's a really big one. And then, of course, education. You just can't get enough education. So we focus on everything that we teach. We try to get the CE credits for that.
And we don't know what we don't know.
We do not.
And, why reinvent the wheel when somebody's already invented it?
And that's, in a room like in a mastermind, what you'll find is that when 2 or more minds come together, a third mind's created. And it's no different than you and I having a conversation. And I might say something and it triggers a thought in your mind that you didn't have before, but it's unique to you and it's more powerful than the one you had preceding it. And I didn't have the thought you did, but it was just something I said that sparked it, made the connection for you. This happens with people all the time. We do this when we're talking to family members or just friends and doing that, and you get a new idea pop in your head. As we, what we should do? And then they get a new idea. Well, in a mastermind, you get 20 minutes of dedicated focus when you're in a hot seat. It's all about you for 20 minutes. You're going to be selfish for 20 minutes, and the rest of the time, you're giving to somebody else.
Right. And people love to give, like you said. So I appreciate you really taking this time to share your expertise and your insights with us today. But before we close out and we say goodbye, any additional advice you have to our listeners?
Yeah, the first thing I would always say is there's a lot of resources out here, right? A lot of things you could be reading, and we can get distracted by the number of topics. I mean, there are new business books coming out, probably 20 a week. It just seems like they're just constantly coming out. The timeless traditional classics are things like Think and Grow Rich, a great book for anyone that owns their own business to sort of get that fundamental concept of what it was truly like for some of the big players. You know, Napoleon Hill did a wonderful job of that. I recommend reading. Read a lot. I've been told this quote before: readers are leaders, right? In doing so, I try to read at least one business book a week, and sometimes, and it's usually at Audible. You know, if I travel, I pop in the earbuds on the plane and I listen to the book and do that. If I really liked what I heard, I'll buy the paperback. if it's just an okay thing of that. So I highly recommend that people try to find a way to sneak in and get some sort of reading, even if you get the Cliff Note version. There's a few Cliff Note type services out there that'll get you just the guts of the book, what it was. Find little things like that. And then the other thing I would encourage you to do is, if you already have a leadership team, encourage them to read the same book that you're reading, whatever that book might be. And then you'll have some shared wisdom to do that. It's very difficult for you to come in and say, hey, I learned this new concept, and you tell them go do something, and they don't have any concept of what you're talking about. And do that. But if you all read the book and you have a little pizza party over it and just kind of talk through what are the nuggets, now you can all apply it and you can get some really good, valuable wisdom out of these things.
Exactly. So before we sign off here, what is the best way for our listeners to connect with you?
You can reach me on my website. I'm thesmartguides.com, and I'll spell that because a lot of people think it's the Smart Guys. It's not. It's Guides, Guides. So it's THESMARTGUIDES, thesmartguides.com. Easiest way.
And we will definitely have that in the show notes.
Wonderful.
So I really appreciate having you on here today, and excellent information.
I appreciate being here. Anything you do to help.
Thank you very much.
All right, great.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Progressive Dentist Podcast. We would greatly appreciate it if you left us a rating and review of the podcast so we can continue to help you and other dentists. Be sure to go to theprogressivedentist.com to learn more and make sure that you keep more of what you make.